Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming an actress from a couple very obscure cult classics in horror. Her name is Elizabeth Marner-Brooks. The most significant one you may remember her from was the 1970 cult classic, I Drink Your Blood, a horror film that was inspired by the Manson family killings at that time. I'm having her on the show today to talk about that movie, as well as The Deadly Spawn and Dogs of Hell. She only did those three movies, and then she got out of the movie business completely. And it was like a 13-year gap between those movies getting released. And so I'm going to find out why is that, and any memories she have of making those movies. And I can't wait. I Drink Your Blood is a very unique, very, very original horror film from the old days, just before Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I've been wanting to have somebody on here from there. So, here is my interview with Elizabeth Marner-Brooks.
Hi, Tommy.
Hi, Elizabeth. How are you?
Okay. How are you today?
Oh, I am great. It's such an honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me to be on.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm a little bit concerned today because for some reason, and it could be the weather we've been having here, I've been coughing some, and I was hoping that wouldn't interfere. And I don't know why. I don't cough. But anyway, so you know that. If you want to postpone, I understand.
Oh, no. People cough all the time. Heck, I even cough.
Oh, God. Okay.
So.
All right. I'm yours.
Okay. So, going back in time, Did you fall in love with acting early on?
As long as I can remember, when I was a child, I wanted to be a ballerina. But when I was really young, I would make up stories and fool my family. And, something was wrong, and I'd start crying, and I couldn't talk about it. And then I would really get them concerned. And then I would say, gotcha. And I would get into trouble. And I would be told the boy that cried wolf story. So I guess I always really liked to make up stories and to act. But primarily I wanted to be a ballerina initially. Mm-hmm. And when I was 12, I think I was about 12, I was told, we were visiting New York, and I was told that my ankles were too weak and I could never really be a ballerina. So I locked myself in my grandmother's bathroom, and there was only one bathroom, and there were 5 of us there, for 2 hours. And I just cried and cried and cried. And when I came out, I said, okay, then I'm going to be an actor, or actress at that point. Yes, so I'm going to act. So I bought a variety, and I looked at all the ads, for all the casting calls, and I called all these producers. Those days, you could get through to the receptionist, and they were so lovely. Well, we're not casting right now, but in the fall we will be. So, of course, for me, I'm going back home to Vegas to school, so I won't be there in the fall. Mm-hmm. But I still have my notes from all those calls.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know. It's bizarre.
So did you do plays in school?
I did some plays in high school. I didn't go to very much grade school. I was taken out and we traveled around the country. But I guess I went to half of grade school that most people go to. But in high school, I did a few plays, not a whole lot. I guess I was just very social and in lots of clubs but I did a couple. Yeah. Nice. And then when I was in college, then I started doing more.
Nice. Are you originally from New York?
I was born in Manhattan. My folks lived on West 110th by Amsterdam. But when I was two and a half, part of my family moved out west. My grandfather got a job in Las Vegas, Nevada. So my mother took me, well, when my grandmother packed up their apartment and went out there, my mother took me and left my father. So I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada. And when I was on tour for CBS, a 34-city tour, when I guess, what was that? That was January, February, and March, January and February of 1968.
Mm-hmm.
And New York was one of the stops. And it just so happened that about 3 months after the tour, I met the man that I wound up marrying, and he was from New York. So I moved here in January '69.
Wow.
Back to the west side.
Did you study acting in New York?
I did. Oh, I did. I studied more acting here than I'd ever studied before. It was wonderful. I studied, do you want to know some of the names or not?
Yeah, I would love to hear.
Oh, okay. I started off with Freddie Karaman, who came out of the Neighborhood Playhouse with Sandy Meisner. And then we were known as Freddie's Puppies. And so when we went through a year of twice a week classes, we could either graduate to Win Handman's class. So I did, and that was more of a performance than technique. And out of that came an off-Broadway play that I did with a couple of people from class. And then I studied with Stella Adler.
Oh.
And, the Stella Adler. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And Ron, oh, my God, how can I be lax on he's now in California. He has his own studio. Oh, my God. Ron. Well, it should come to me. But he was her assistant, and he was terrific also. And I did some improv at Stella's studio with Sandra Lee. And then I studied with Mira Rostova, who is known for her doings. What are you doing? And it could be, what are you doing for this phrase? What are you doing for this phrase? She had, Montgomery Clift had studied with her.
Oh.
So that was a major calling card for her. But she was unreal. She would sit there for 4 hours of class and never get up once. We would get up, go to the bathroom. We would get up, go get some tea in the kitchen. She never got up.
Wow.
So those were my acting teachers here. I was very fortunate. I had some wonderful teachers here.
Yeah.
And I kind of combined made my own play as well as using their techniques. And for speech and projecting, it was Marion Rich, and Freddie Karaman would send a lot of us to Marion. So I studied with her.
Oh, that's great. It sounds like you were blessed with acting, teaching. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I went to Martha Graham School of Dance for dance classes.
Oh, was that before?
That was during. That. I guess that was when I was studying with Stella, Mira. Yeah. So during that period. Oh yes, I had a lot of classes. It was wonderful. Really great.
So you still had the desire to dance even though you were acting.
I love to dance. And during the disco days, I was out dancing I was at Studio 54. Oh yeah. Love to, any kind of dance was great.
Mm-hmm. So how did you get cast in I Drink Your Blood?
Well, David, the director-writer, David Thurston, called me, and he said that I had auditioned for him, at one point, and he wanted me. He was doing a film called Phobia, and he wanted me to come in to see it. He wanted me in it, but he wanted to see if if the lead and I would match together. So could we test together? And so John Damon was my fiance in the film, and we had the chemistry, and he hired me, and that was it. But wow. I don't remember having, I did a lot of auditions, so I don't really remember that, auditioning previously for him.
Yeah.
Basically. But he was great. He was just delightful.
Yeah, David Thurston, he had written episodes of Tales of Tomorrow, which was probably the first horror and sci-fi anthology show on TV back in the 50s. And he broke into exploitation films, and the head of the studio, Jerry Gross, wanted him to make a low-budget film, but the catch was no zombies, no vampires, no werewolves, and no little people. That was the exact quote. And the funny part is, Night of the Living Dead had just broke new ground with the horror genre, but this and Texas Chainsaw Massacre a few years later, at that time, there was no, reference to making a horror film without those things other than true crime that was in the news. And this was inspired by the Manson family. Yes,
it certainly was. It was. And Jerry Gross had, which I'm sure you know, Jerry Gross had the other film with Anita Ekberg that he said, it's so bad I need a double feature. So you have to write me something.
Yeah.
and this is the one that lasted, the I Drink Your Blood.
Yeah, that's the funny part about it. Yeah. Oh my God. So any good stories from the set?
Yeah, we were up in Sharon Springs, so it was pretty isolated. We weren't in the town proper. We were out in the woods. And, there were a couple of members of the cast who were dropping acid in people's drinks, coffee, soda, water, whatever drink. So my husband came up to visit one weekend, and I warned him. I said, do not leave a drink, okay? So if you go up to the buffet table, don't leave an open drink. Take it with you and drink. Well, of course, he didn't listen. So apparently, on his bus trip back to the city, he had quite a trip. Quite a trip. I guess, fortunately, before I ever met him, I guess when he was in college or maybe working in the Catskills, he had experienced that on his own. So he at least knew what it was and knew how long it could last. But, I was very careful. Nobody ever bothered me. Nobody ever did it, but I was careful.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
It's no wonder things are the way they are today.
I don't know.
Was it hot and cold, hot or cold there?
Well, we filmed in the summer, so it was pretty warm. It was pretty warm. Yeah, it's the Catskills, and it was pretty warm. A lot of foliage, so you had the humidity. I do remember, we would play music in the evening, and I do remember dancing and not being overheated. But yeah, it was warm. I mean, I think, well, when the group did their nude scene at night, they were freezing.
Wow.
I think they were really cold. But I wasn't there for that filming. I worked a couple of days, and then they said, okay, you have a couple of days off. And they sent me back. They took me back to the city, and it was a week before I was required back there. So, yeah, it was I don't think anybody ever thought it would be such a long have such longevity. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some scary stuff, but it's also got some pretty funny stuff in it too. Like, I love, like the little exchange between you and the guy at the beginning when when you're like, what about Sylvia Banner? And he's like, rape is out of this little engineer's domain, and you're like, oh, big help you are.
Yeah, I remember one scene, and I think it may have been cut down in the late, because there were several versions that were released. And I think this scene may have been cut down, but there was a scene where John and I were standing in front of a window, and we were having this sort of a confrontation and, disagreement. And, oh my God, we must have done 27 takes. A fly buzzed around.
Oh.
Okay, cut. An airplane went over. Cut. The Venetian blind fell down. Cut. It just seemed to go on and on forever.
Oh, my God. How long was the shoot for?
I think it was about 6 weeks. At least I was involved for about 6 weeks.
Wow.
Could have been 7, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty long for a little film like that.
And they had a makeup man there. So every morning it was into makeup, which I felt there's so much makeup. They've got so much makeup on me. But, that was, I did my own hair. They did the makeup.
Nice.
It was unusual having a makeup person. It's the only film of the 3 that I did where there was a makeup person.
What was Lynn Lowry like?
Well, Lynn and I really, I didn't have much to do with them, and Lynn and I really didn't get to know each other until this last year, and then going to Cinema Wasteland in Ohio in this April. And we really hit it off. I love Lynn. She's great. We've been emailing and texting for months, but because last year? I guess it was last year. Somebody contacted me from Tokyo, and he's an American living in Tokyo, Norman, England, and he found me because a friend of his and I had met and spent some time. She and her husband would spend some time together. So he contacted me. He was writing a glossy book, doing this book to go with the Blu-ray version that was being released, a new Blu-ray released in Tokyo, in Japan. And so he wanted to interview, and, he'd been in touch with Lynn, I think, by that point. He knew he'd contacted Tide, or he was about to. He couldn't find Rhonda. He didn't know how to find Rhonda. So we went back and forth, and he Skype interviewed me for 3 hours and then cut it down. And then they had a 2-hour live internet show in Japan, and I tried to see the whole thing, but I missed the first part, and that was the part that had most of me. The night before it, he Skyped me doing a greeting to the people of Japan and thanking them for their, continuing interest, and also what a great time I had when I was in Tokyo, which I did, and the people were so nice. So they showed that, but I didn't get to see it. Well, about an hour after that show, or 2 hours, Lynn emailed me, "Are you interested in doing a HorrorCon?" And that's how Ohio and Cinema Wasteland in April came about. Wow. And then I knew somebody who had a friend who goes to the same church in Jersey as Rhonda. And that's how, so he got Rhonda's email, and I sent it to Norman. And that's how they got together. It's crazy. The 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I reached out to Lynn back in September, and she told me she would do the podcast, but I have to wait till January. So then I waited till January, and then she told me she's writing a book and that she can't do any more interviews. I was like, oh God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, because we had a panel discussion in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for about an hour. Yeah, panel discussion. Oh, I didn't know she was writing a book.
Yeah.
Well, she has a long history of doing more films and more films. And mine's pretty short.
Oh, yeah. She did George Romero's The Crazies, which she's probably known for the most of anything.
Mm.
And no matter how old she gets, she looks the same, and she just ages like a fine wine, you know?
I know. She's great. And a lot of fun.
I always laugh my ass off when the construction hat guys are chasing the sheriffs, and the sheriffs are like splashing water at them.
Oh, right.
It's like it's not much to do when you're on a limited budget like that.
That's true.
So I take.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to comment on. I missed the filming of that one. Yeah, I was kind of segregated, I guess, because I wasn't one of the cult. You know, the town nice lady. That's how I'm always cast.
Yeah. So I take it you still get recognized for the movie.
For I Drink Your Blood and for The Deadly Spawn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Rottweiler Dogs of Hell. That was pretty big the summer it came out in Belgium and in Detroit or Chicago. I heard, but I saw it recently. I will stand by my own work, but it's the writing and probably the quality of the film. I don't know. It just didn't stand out like the other two did.
Yeah. So until you did The Deadly Spawn, I mean, did you decide that you were just going to do theater only?
No. I had done television commercials. I had done industrials, live and filmed. I did that, that tour for CBS. I did a tour for Las Vegas. The News Bureau asked me to go through Colorado, pumping up Las Vegas as a convention town, which was unheard of at the time.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, come on, people won't go to meetings, and, what are the wives going to do? So I'd done a lot. I did a lot of modeling. I did tea room modeling, photography. And when I moved to New York, it was a whole different thing. Plus, I was in California before that. So I was between LA and Vegas. And in LA, you have to have an agent. The big difference when I came to New York, you don't have to have an agent. You can just go out on audition. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't sure if it was wise being in the unions, which I was, or whether it prevented me from doing a lot. But anyway, I was in the unions. So,
So how did you get cast in Deadly Spawn?
I went for an audition. I'm not sure if I saw it listed in Backstage. I probably did. And I went for an audition. And I remember, it's really funny because when I did, the scene in I Drink Your Blood where we're going around the car and George Patterson's coming after me.
Yeah.
And okay. So I was supposed to, and they don't have that scene in the latest version that I saw where I went around the car and I screamed, but I couldn't really scream. I just didn't do a good scream. So somebody screamed for me. I thought it was Lynn, but Lynn said she didn't do it. So I don't know who did it. By the time I did The Deadly Spawn, I had studied with Stella Adler, and I learned to scream. And I think I got that audition because of the scream. Or I got the role because of the scream I did at the audition. And they filmed the audition. They taped it. Mm-hmm. So, they reviewed it, and then they called me and they said, you've got it. And that was that.
Why did you go by Alyssa Neal in the credits?
Oh, God, I wish I didn't. I wish I hadn't, because somebody, especially now, well, now that it's a cult film, and I mean a classic and also because when I was in Ohio, somebody said, "Oh, did you that feature of the makeup and your picture?" And I said, "Oh, I know it was in Fangoria, but I never saw it." He said, No, not Fangoria. This was much bigger." Mm-hmm. So I said, "No." And he said, "Well, I know I have it somewhere. I don't know if I can put my hands on it quickly, but I know I have it somewhere." So he, I think it was the next day or two, he emailed me the link, and it was in Cinemagic, and it's a big layout with a lot of pictures. And to see my name there as Elisa Neal, it's like, oh no, I want my name there. But what had happened, it was being done in Jersey, and I was afraid that I'd get fined by the union because it was a non-union. So I said, okay, we have to use a different name. So I took a compilation of my two sisters' names. And now I just so wish, I'm glad that it was put on IMDb, so at least people know.
Yeah.
But oh my God, I looked at this magazine and it's like under every picture, it's Lisa Neal. Oh no. Oh well. It is what it is. But that was the reason.
It came out in 1983, but was it shot years before?
No. It came out right after it was shot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This was like the end of the era where low-budget horror movies were shot in rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, too.
This was in Tim Hildebrandt's house, and he's the one who did the original artwork for Star Wars, for the poster and whatever. Mm-hmm. He was a really lovely artist. I mean, just beautiful artist.
Yeah.
So that's where it was done. So he and Ted were friends. Ted Bowen, the producer.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was reading, too, Paramount almost bought the movie.
Mm.
And that, because they were hot right off of Friday the 13th and all the sequels and stuff, and they were doing a lot of horror at the time.
Mm. Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah. So
I know that they may be doing a reunion next year.
Oh,
with
nice.
Deadly Spawn. Like right now, it's the reunion for I Drink Your Blood.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And then Dogs of Hell, did you audition for that too?
That, I knew somebody who had worked for that director, Earl Owensby. Mm-hmm. And so I knew somebody who had done several films for him. And he was an acting buddy of mine here in New York. So he said, well, there's a role as Earl's wife. And, I talked to Earl and come on down. So it wound up that that's how I got it. It's because I knew somebody who knew somebody.
And this time you were Ashley Blythe.
Yes, I was Ashley Blythe. Oh, my God, that's another story. Oh, see. I know. My son does this great roasting of my names. Goes through all of these different names that I've had all my life. because I was born under Elizabeth Marner-Brooks, but then when my mother remarried, she put me back into school under my stepfather's name, which was how I got into equity initially, was under that name, which the last name was Stutz, S-T-U-T-Z. And then, I went back to Elizabeth Marner-Brooks. So he does this whole thing. He did this whole roast. And then he said, but, by any other name, she's still mom to me.
Oh.
But so many names. Oh, my God. Yeah, my son was like 5-6 months old when I did I Drink Your Blood.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you sure didn't look like you had had a child.
Just.
So any other good stories from Dogs of Hell?
For Dogs of Hell?
Yeah, or Deadly Spawn?
Well, Dogs of Hell, we had to do some reshoot. I had to fly back down there and do some reshoot. We were shooting in the summer in North Carolina, in the humidity, outside. So I would put my makeup on, and by the time I was called, to get up there, my makeup was just, literally melting off. It was so hot and humid. And when I did the reshoot, we have to reshoot something. So I flew down, and it was even hotter that time. That's the thing that stands out most in my mind. And we were all in a motel, so we would hang out. And I guess my acting friend from New York, and I were, most of the people seemed to be like teenagers or 20, so we were older. We hung out, but we didn't hang out as much as we would have probably if they were more in the same generation. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, they had all their scenes together, just like, the Cult had all their scenes together for I Drink Your Blood. Mm-hmm. But it was fun. It was fun. For me, I love it. So it's fun, whether it's Jersey, whether it's Sharon Springs, whether it's North Carolina, no matter where it is, I just find it fun.
Yeah.
And I bet, and in this whole resurgence, or my knowledge of this interest, because I wasn't aware of it, but Lynn has been doing horror cons for a long time, and I just was totally unaware. But what I've thought to myself is, why didn't I keep going? Why didn't I just keep going and keep auditioning and do more and more and more? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Did you maybe you thought the film market was too competitive?
No, because I always had the feeling of, when I got into equity, that was competition, because there were 500 girls, and they only picked 12, or something like that. And I've always had the feeling of, if there's one slot available, why not?
Right.
So that's not daunting. That's not at all daunting for me. I don't know. Maybe it's just whatever was going on in my life at the time.
Yeah. So did you keep doing theater?
I did. I'm trying to think when it was. I think it was probably before it was before the Deadly Spawn. We did, in Wynn Henman's class, he assigned 3 of us to work on Ethan Frome. So we did. I don't remember 2-3 scenes, and he said, this is good enough to take further. So we decided to take it further. And it took 2 years to mount between fundraising and auditioning directors. That was a new experience, to be on the other side of the table and have directors calling and saying, take me, I know this play, I love this play. No, take me. I have good experience. I was a stage manager at the Met. I know this play and I can mount it. So it's very interesting being on the other side. And then the publicity and the sets and the props and it was, I remember when we had the first performance, and then a group of us went to Joe Allen's. It was kind of a traditional place at the time to go go have something after a show. And I just remember sitting at the table, and after 2 years of getting this together and holding fundraising events, I remember sitting there. It was like giving birth. And I just remember starting to cry. Because it was like, oh my God, wow. You know, so it was quite an experience. Yeah. And other than that, no. Right now I'm doing some storytelling. I've gotten into storytelling over the last couple of years, slowly. I do acting at a medical school as a patient. I keep my hand in the acting that way right now. But I haven't really been going on auditions. But I'm getting, I don't know, maybe I will.
Mm-hmm. And you're doing
You're never too old or too ugly to act.
But you do the conventions and the screenings and all that?
I just started doing, Strongsville, Ohio in April was my very first CarCon. We are booked for October 18th and 19th, if anybody wants to come, in Phoenix FearCon. So Lynn and Tide and Rhonda and I are booked for there, for the I Drink Your Blood reunion.
Oh, awesome.
I got my fingers crossed that we get more.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Really fun. Exhausting.
I hope they invite you guys to California eventually.
Oh, I'd love it. That's my old stomping ground. I lived in L.A.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to live there when it was such a magical time.
Yeah, and I got to grow up in Vegas when it was such a magical time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Vegas has changed a lot.
Oh, my God. Before the corporations came in, oh yeah. The mob really knew how to run Vegas. Oh, yeah. I'm an old-timer there, you know. Out in the desert, you know, there's nothing around. Our closest neighbor when we moved there was about, I don't know, a third or half a mile away. They had a cow. We had chickens.
Mm-hmm. That's so great. Well, Elizabeth, I thank you for coming on today, and I hope I get to meet you, at a screening or convention someday. And this was really great.
Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate being invited. And I'm sorry it took me so long. I didn't see that message on Messenger because I'm not big on that.
It's okay.
The app gets to me quicker.
It's okay. It wasn't that long. It was just fairly recent.
Yeah, but I like to be right on top of things. So yeah. Oh, I understand that there was another screening of I Drink Your Blood in the Tokyo area this last week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. It's a cult classic that just keeps on getting more and more popular.
I know. Well, thank you very much, Tommy.
Oh, my pleasure. And you are just absolutely blessed. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. You too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Elizabeth Marner-Brooks. Ain't she a sweetheart? Yes, she is. And I hope I get to meet her someday. She had great stories, and she was very entertaining. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.